This is the demonstration for making two contour drawings. The blind contour is where you're drawing without looking at the paper. And I know that this is hard and it's awkward, and it's supposed to be. It's just an exercise. We're just practicing. We're practicing more of this observation, right? How you're looking at things. I'll hold this off to the side so I'm not looking. So you want to do one continuous line. Here's my 3B so you can see one continuous line, and I'm not looking at the paper. I'm just looking at my key. And I'm just guessing now where things are in space. And I want to do like the lines. I feel like the lines for the key are down here. I don't even know how this looks right now. It's going to be embarrassing, but okay, there's my blind contour drawing. This is what it's supposed to look like. This is a drawing exercise. It really helps you get it out of your head. It helps you from being so worried about what things look like and more into the process of actually just drawing and doing it and understanding how what you're looking at relates to what's happening on the paper. So that's really the point of this. I want you to be thinking about how you're observing and looking at things, and then how you're connecting it to the piece of paper. You can do this as many times as you want. You can try it with different objects, but this is plenty. This would be all I'm expecting for the project, and I hope you just have fun, get out of your head a little bit, try to loosen up with this stuff. Don't worry about what it looks like. Just practice the materials and practice, your observation skills. The observational drawing, and that just means you're looking at your object. You're choosing an everyday object. Mine will be a key. Just anything that has some interesting shape to it, and we're creating a contour drawing, which is just a drawing with lines. Now, the way I start drawings is to break down the object into its simplest forms. So thinking about geometric shapes like circles, squares, rectangles, triangles, and the basic forms here are a circle on the top and then a rectangle. And that is all I'm going to draw to start. So usually I started drawing with a lighter pencil. So that will be like a 2H, which might not come up on the video here. So I'm gonna actually switch to an HB to make sure it's dark enough for you to see. But that's kind of when you're thinking about working, if you're using the different kinds of pencils. A lighter pencil like a 4H or a 2H is a good way to start a drawing really lightly, and then you can move into the softer. Okay, so I'm just going to start with a circle and then a rectangle, and it's kind of coming out of the middle. So I'm thinking about proportions, and that's it. That's the start. Now I'm also going to make a center line just so I can have an idea of the way things are working here. And you can even make a center line through this. And this is how you're starting your basic structure of your drawing. So a circle and a rectangle. Now from here, I'm gonna switch to a 3B pencil, so I'm making it darker and darker as I go. From here, we can start adding details. Now, if I had just started drawing, the little key things, and I got really detailed and I wasn't paying attention to the rest of the drawing, things would be really out of proportion. So what we do is we build up detail. Think of it as in layers. The first layer is really light. You're getting the whole form down. And then the next layer can be a little darker, and we're starting to get more of the shape. So this is actually squared off, right? But since we made these center lines in the circle, it makes it really easy for us to find how it's squared. You can even make a line here. These two are going to be squared off, and then these round down, right? And then this is wider, the top of the key. So we're going to have it go down like that. This is the straight side, and then I noticed the curve up to about the center line, and then it curves back in, right? And then we have that. Then we have a big kind of bunch here that I'm just gonna sort of sketch out. I'm not gonna add all those details yet because I wanna make sure I fit everything in. If I started going into the tiny little detail here, I maybe wouldn't want to erase it, or it would get too dark. So that's why I'm just leaving that as like kind of a clump. And then I see it goes down low again here. So this kind of matches that. And then it starts to go up again and steps a little bit. And then there's another line here. And remember, we're just working with lines with the contours, and another line towards the bottom. Now I can start working on the top part of the key, which will be, what's this shape? This is kind of like, I'm starting with straighter lines here to get them, and I see this goes almost all the way down to that center, but not quite. And before I start to refine that shape, I'm gonna get the other shapes kind of sketched in. Okay, and we know there's another line kind of around here. And now I think this is looking a little out of proportion. Like this part seems too big. So since I've gone super light, I can take my kneaded eraser, and this is why we don't draw too much detail or get too dark yet. You can erase some of this, and I think this line actually needs to come down. Now, I'm not expecting perfection by any means, but these are the things maybe you start to notice and you're like, this is the point where you can be fixing it. If you started to add more detail, you wouldn't want to fix it and you'd maybe get more frustrated. But I think that is going to look a little better for our shapes. So don't be afraid to fix stuff. It's all about editing and adjusting. All right, so now I'm gonna start thinking about when I'm sure I have everything in the right place, I can start thinking about the types of lines I'm making. Where are the shadows? Where are the highlights? So my darkest shadow is here, and this is gonna be my thickest line, right? And then it's another thick line down here, and I see some more, this is really the darkest part. Metal and glass are some of the hardest things to draw. So if you've chosen that, don't worry. I also see, just do the best you can. I also see some dark lines down here. And then on the top is a little lighter. So I might come back with my eraser and just erase some of these so I can sort of get the line, the lightness I want to. So maybe I'll go into my 2H and make that line go into here. And then you're just continuing like that, thinking about where the highlights are, where the shadows are, using different pencils or different pressure to build up your shape and create your contour drawing. So remember, it's all outlines, it's just lines, and then you're thinking about what kind of lines you're using. With metal, if you wanted to make the texture, like I see some texture here, you could maybe do some lines like that. You could make this like the contrast between the dark and the light is really noticeable in metal. Like you can see this is the same in glass, that contrast, like right here is really dark and right here is really light. So even making this like super dark and making some more lines in there could help. Just experiment with your lines. It's always better to go overboard than not do enough. I'd rather you go over the edge than not know where the edge is.